Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Daily Gwei Refuel, where I recap the latest news in the Ethereum ecosystem. I'm your host, Anthony Sassano, and today's the 10th of November, 2022. Alright everyone, let's get into it. So, just a forewarning here, this episode is going to be yet again another FTX drama-heavy episode, because really that's all that happened over the last 24 hours from what I could see. I don't think anyone wants to be announcing any project updates in the midst of all this drama because there is just so much noise. So I'll be focusing on this again, and of course tying it back to Ethereum and decentralization and all that good stuff. I have a few tweets that I want to talk about later, but let's start from the top. So what happened over the last 24 hours? Well, what happened is what I guess I speculated on yesterday. Binance pulled out of the acquisition deal of FTX. So they put out a tweet today saying, as a result of corporate due diligence, as well as the latest news reports regarding mishandled customer funds and alleged US agency investigations, we have decided that we will not pursue the potential acquisition of FTX.com. Now, I mean, it's pretty obvious why they're not doing this. FTX is a radioactive wasteland. Going near it means like certain death, basically. So Binance is like, this is not worth it at all. Yes, okay, the ecosystem may suffer because of this, but it is really not worth our time, energy, reputation, money to save this thing. Let it die. Let someone else save it, and it's not worth it to them. And I can't blame them for this. As I said yesterday, I didn't really see any reason for them to acquire FTX. It just seems like there was no positives for the Binance personally, or Binance as a company, I should say, and CZ personally, of course. And there was just a lot of downsides. And as I speculated, the only thing would be the long-term health of this ecosystem. But I don't think CZ wants to take on all the baggage that comes with buying FTX, because you not only inherit, obviously, the customer deposits that you have to make whole, but you also inherit all the legal liabilities and all the legal stuff that's coming. And they actually called it out here. There's US agency investigations that have already begun. So obviously they don't want to be involved in that shitstorm there. Now, of course, this had big implications for the market. Whole market dumped again. BTC went to new lows. ETH hasn't gone back to triple digits yet, but who knows, right? At time of recording, ETH is at about 1175, so not doing too crash hot. BTC is at 16.2k. It went down to I believe 15.5k. So yeah, definitely new cycle lows there. And we're basically in max fear territory. I mean, one of the biggest exchanges blew up. We had potential bailout coming, but that's not happening. There's a lot of other drama surrounding what's been happening. And I think the whole is estimated to be about $8 billion from what I saw. So, I mean, I estimated 5 to 10, $8 billion is estimated by the industry, and it seems to, I guess, be the estimate that everyone is going with. So yeah, that's the biggest news, I think, or the biggest FTX related news, was that there's no bailout coming. A lot of people have lost money, and more and more people are coming out and saying that they've lost money on FTX, and that their family has lost money because they said to their family, hey, you can use FTX, you can trust it, it's a legit exchange run by a legit operator, when obviously it wasn't. And it seems that Sam or SBF scammed everyone. It really does seem like pretty much a full-blown scam, and a lot of fraud involved. So I think that SBF, if he is arrested, is going to face prosecution for a number of different laws that he has broken, but I don't know when that's going to happen. I mean, Do Kwon and Su Zhu are still free, right? 3 Hours Capital allegedly committed grand fraud by faking their assets under management in order to be able to borrow more funds from different kinds of people via unsecured loans. And Do Kwon, I mean, I've talked about him enough on the refuel before. So who knows what's going to happen there. But SBF, from what I can tell, has definitely broken laws, has definitely committed fraud, from what I can tell. Now, I'm not going, obviously, I can't, I don't have all the information in front of me to prove that. And I should preface this by saying, in my opinion, it's definite because just of what I'm seeing, but there's still a lot of unknowns here. It is alleged still. It's nothing that's been proven. He hasn't been prosecuted or anything like that. Just don't want to get myself into trouble there by saying, this is definitely happening. I don't mean that as like a objective fact. I just say, in my opinion, it seems like he has definitely broken some kind of laws there and committed some type of fraud, but we're going to have to wait and see what comes out. Now, if FTX declares official bankruptcy here, this is going to take a long time to play out, guys. It could potentially take 5+ years to play out. because we can look at MT Gox as precedent. Now, I think that MT Gox was based in Japan, and Japanese bankruptcy proceedings are typically slow, some of the slowest in the world. So we can look at MT Gox. I mean, that went down in late 2013. So let's say it's been about 8 years since then through all these proceedings, and people still haven't got their funds back. So I think it's safe to say that it's at least going to be a few years before anyone gets their money back from FTX if they declare bankruptcy. Because once you declare bankruptcy, you basically hand everything over to third parties, and they handle it all. There's nothing more that you do as a company. You do what you're told, basically. Once you do that, so. As I said yesterday, if you have lost money on FTX, I really feel for you. I really feel sad for you. It should be a stark reminder to not keep money on centralized exchanges longer than you have to. Kind of do your business and get out, so to speak. Someone had an analogy on Twitter a few days ago saying that centralized exchanges are like public, restrooms. You go in, do your business, and get out as quickly as possible. You don't want to linger around there for obvious reasons, right? So yeah, hopefully this has been a learning experience for you. But if you weren't on FTX, I'm sure it was a learning experience for you as well. And there's already a lot of people taking their funds off centralized exchanges. I'm seeing the flows myself, and that makes total sense. I mean, people don't want to be stuck just in case. Not to say that these other centralized exchanges such as Binance and Coinbase and Kraken are insolvent or anything like that, but people want to be safe. And you should be. Honestly, if you're not actively trading on a centralized exchange, then I don't really see much of a reason to keep assets on there. Now, it depends what asset it is. Obviously, something like a centralized stablecoin doesn't really matter where you keep it because it's centralized, right? For example, if you keep USDC on Coinbase, I mean, it's the same thing, really, so the risk is basically the same there. But if you keep ETH on a centralized exchange, well, ETH is a truly decentralized asset, so you're much better off just self-custodying that, self-custodying any BTC you own or any of these other assets on truly decentralized blockchains so that you retain full custody of your funds instead of relying on these third parties here. But that's enough on the Binance thing. And actually, after this, or a few hours after this, Justin Sun came out and said, further to my announcement to stand behind all Tron token holders on FTX, we are putting together a solution together with FTX to initiate a pathway forward. And SBF retweeted this. So it seems that SBF is so desperate that he's gone to the honorable Justin Sun, right? Which is hilarious to me, considering that that's like peak desperation for obvious reasons. But there's not much more information about this from what I can see, so we don't know if this is actually going forward. But the fact that SBF retweeted it lends it obviously legitimacy and truthfulness there. But that's just something else of a development that happened. But I don't know if it's actually going to materialize into anything. So I just wanted to call out that one. Then, as I said, FTX is facing a liquidity shortfall of up to $8 billion and seeking emergency funding to meet withdrawal requests. I don't know who wants to plug this hole. Like, what are they getting out of it, right? That's a big hole. And obviously, we would love for users to be made whole, for their funds to be returned, but it comes at the expense of another party. Like if you say, okay, I'm going to acquire FTX and I'm going to plug this $8 billion hole, as I said before, you don't just inherit that. You inherit all the legal problems as well. And you inherit an exchange that no one's going to trust ever again. Probably all the stuff to do with the FTT token. It's just not worth touching it. It's radioactive, right, at this point in time. And then, as I said, US has begun a probe on the FTX empire over handling of client funds and lending. And on top of that, most of FTX's legal and compliance team just quit. So, I mean, guys, I don't really see any path forward for FTX except bankruptcy, if I'm being honest. Like, what else is there for them? If you really think about it, like, who wants to bail them out? Justin Sun, I doubt, has $8 billion to bail them out, unless it's part of his companies. Personally, I don't think he has that much. He's pretty rich. Maybe he does have that much, but I doubt he's going to want to use most of his net worth to bail this out. It seems like they're doing it to generate some kind of liquidity for the TRX token, which seems to be trading at a much larger valuation on FTX. So what could happen is that there could be an arb opportunity there where they transfer funds from other exchanges or transfer TRX from other exchanges to FTX and then sell it on FTX and make money that way in order to plug some of the hole. But again, retail's just getting wrecked there and losing on that as well. So that's obviously not an ideal outcome for anyone there. But I mean, Justin Sun is not a person that you should trust, and SBF is definitely not a person that you should trust. So I don't put anything past these two. But the fact that most of FTX legal and compliance teams just quit basically means that they took a look at what happened. They were probably kept in the dark, but they took a look at what happened and said, nah, fuck this shit, I'm out. Like, I'm not dealing with this because it's probably really, really bad. And honestly, I don't think we know the extent of how bad it is because everyone's really confused right now. They're like, how the fuck did they lose $8 billion? Or how is there an $8 billion hole here when they were making so much money? Like, how did they screw this up so hard, right? And I'm confused by this as well. Like, we don't have enough information to have a clear picture on this yet, but you can chalk it up to just pure greed. And as I said, I'm pretty sure from what I've seen, FTX, Alameda, SBF, they blew up at the same time everyone else did back in Q2, right, with the Terra collapse and the 3AC collapse, and they were just able to get away unscathed for a few months by doing all the dodgy stuff that they've been doing. Now chickens come home to roost, and roost they have, that's for sure. And this has resulted in this fallout here, which obviously is not great. Now, there was another tweet here from Ben Hunt who said, it's so weird that CFTC Commissioner Caroline Pham has deleted this tweet along with every other chummy reference to FTX apparently. Meanwhile, somewhere a small RIA is being referred to enforcement for not captioning on an S&P 500 chart as non-investable. So you can see Caroline Pham here said, yes, SBF's hair is better than mine, and yes, Mark really is that tall. Thanks for coming to talk to me today. So this is the CFTC Commissioner. This is a commissioner of one of the biggest regulatory agencies in the US, and she has been deleting tweets about SBF. Now, the reason why I bring up this tweet is because, like, regulators, as I've said before, they're not going to protect anyone here. Like, look, the regulators they weren't in bed with SBF so explicitly, but SBF was there talking to them. They were treating him like a legitimate actor, like a leader of the space, like someone to be trusted. And now it's come out that he's obviously the complete opposite of that. They're deleting tweets. I don't understand why people delete tweets. Like, they're documented. There is a bot that actually follows a lot of accounts, and if you delete a tweet, it will archive that and say, hey, this person deleted this tweet. So it never actually pays to delete a tweet, especially if you're a very public and visible person. So, and it actually makes it look so much worse. So I don't understand why people do it, honestly. Like, there is literally no positive to it at all, because people can always, it actually works like a Streisand effect as well, where you delete the tweet, people see that you deleted the tweet, and then they bring it up again, and they keep berating you about it. It's like, why did you delete this tweet, bro? Why did you delete this tweet, bro? And they obviously never reply, and that keeps happening and happening and happening. And I think the perfect example of this, besides this one from Caroline, is this one from Kyle Samani, who is another, in my opinion, bad actor in this space. And I've been calling him out for quite a while, but he quote tweeted Caroline, who works at, not Caroline Pham, Caroline who works at Alameda, and Caroline was saying a few notes on the balance sheet info that has been circulating recently, and this was her thread reassuring people that FTX and Alameda were fine. This was 2 days ago, and Kyle quote tweeted this and said, haters take note, right? And then he deleted this tweet, of course, because, I mean, what are we taking note of exactly? That you're wrecked? Multicoin lost 10% or has 10% of their AUM stuck on FTX. But then there's also an article that came out that said, before FTX halted withdrawals on Tuesday, Multicoin Capital was able to withdraw around 24% of the fund's assets that were held on the exchange. So simultaneously, while Kyle was saying haters take note, as in saying that, you know, be reassured that everything's fine on FTX and Alameda, there's no need to panic, he was himself withdrawing funds from FTX. Like, this is just, I mean, this should be illegal. Like, there has to be a law against them doing this. And as far as I know, Multicoin Capital is registered or incorporated in the US. So, like, for sure, he's broken some kind of law by doing this. But again, like, why delete this tweet? Why even put this tweet out in the first place, for starters? It's fucking stupid. Like, honestly, especially when you're withdrawing. Like, what, like, I don't just ascribe much intelligence to Kyle Samani. I never have. And I've always not respected him ever since he was shilling EOS back in the day, and deleted those tweets too, mind you. But to do this, right? This is just disgusting. Honestly, this is absolutely disgusting behavior. I hope there's consequences for this. And if you're on Twitter, you should call out people like this. I'll back you up. I'm honestly, like, I call out these people all the time. I'll back you up on that. Like, this shouldn't stand. We need to get rid of these toxic people out of this ecosystem. We need to I mean, I hate the term cancel them, but we need to get rid of them, like, because they're not doing anything net positive for the ecosystem. They're hurting the ecosystem. They're leading to all the blow-ups that we've seen, because Kyle Samani, he's also backed a lot of other projects that have not really gone anywhere. And he also backed the entire FTX empire, including Solana, and that's all fallen apart. He's said plenty of stuff before that's false, and I don't want to just pick on him because there's so many other actors that are just as bad, if not worse than him. But I think this is just a perfect example of like why delete this tweet or why even put this shit out in the first place. Like especially juxtaposed with the fact that you were withdrawing money from FTX while you were reassuring people that everything was okay. Obviously, you didn't believe that yourself. Which, yeah, honestly, like this is one of the most egregious things that I've seen during this saga, because it basically shows that these people really, I mean, they don't give a shit about you. Like, I mean, I know they don't give a shit about you, but I think there should be, and I've known it for a while, but I think there should be proof. Like, stop thinking that these billionaires, that these fund managers, that these exchange operators give any shits about you at all. At the end of the day, they only care about themselves and their own pocket and their own funds. They don't care about you at all. So what you can do to protect yourself is, of course, self-custody, right? Like self-custody, using DeFi, using all the good stuff that we've built, sticking to ecosystems that are legitimate and not going and venturing out into shitty ones. If you want to make money on them and you understand the risks, by all means, be my guest. But you need to understand the risks. And a lot of people don't. A lot of people don't understand the risks as well, because a lot of people who do understand the risks don't actually make the risk apparent to newer people, which leads them down shitty rabbit holes and gets them wrecked. As I mentioned yesterday, like think about how many people have gotten wrecked just constantly over the past 10 months, on top of losing portfolio value. Like, imagine someone who was like, oh yeah, I'm down 80 to 90% on my assets right now, but you know, I'll keep them on FTX, it's fine, I'll just keep them there till the next bull market, it'll be safe there, I won't have to worry about it, and then bam, it's gone, right? Bam. Gone, 100% loss. Like, imagine how that person feels. They probably laugh, right? They're probably like, well, I was already down 80 to 90%. Like, I just got a mega wrecked, 100%, like, it's gone, everything's wiped out. Maybe I'll try again next time, or they'll just leave the ecosystem. And I laugh not as in a ha-ha way, but in a, that's a fucked up way, right? Like, that's just, and that's probably happened to a lot of people, because FTX was a retail-driven exchange, right? And there was definitely a lot of people who lost a lot of money over the fact that a lot of crypto assets have dumped a lot, during this year. And like, really, I mean, if most of the people that entered, end of last year are not down 80 to 90%, they either sold during that kind of I guess Q4 period of last year and Q1, or they basically were able to trade the bear market and like short things. There's very few people who can do that profitably, but the ones who can make a bit of money there. But anyway, there's that. And then I think the last thing on the FTX stuff was Cobie sharing a message from FTX, from SBF on FTX's Slack that got leaked to him by some Telegram anon, and he's verified it's real with another. This was basically SBF coming up with some hacky plan of what to do in this situation. I mean, I replied saying it reads like this. He typed this after not sleeping for 48 hours, because there's one part here where he said, one could maybe say, if they wanted to be optimistic, that we have a lot theoretically in and or potentially for the raise, more than enough to cover all needs. But at the end of the day, the entire world lives between there and where we need to be. And I mean, reading like that as a sane person and trying to decipher that as a sane person, he's trying to say that they can raise enough money to cover the whole, when I don't think they can. I think that's a straight lie. And then he also has a point on this where he says, where exactly does he say it? I think that he said something about wanting to make himself whole, and I was like, okay, like, why are you even talking about yourself, bro? You're not going to be made whole at all. You're probably going to end up in prison if you ever get arrested, so I don't know what you're on about. But yeah, I mean, it seems like he is done. I mean, he's finished. I was actually talking to some friends about this the other day. It seems that these egomaniacs, it shares a common theme. What ends up happening is that their mind breaks, right, once their empire falls apart. And we've seen this play out. Like, Do Kwon is still tweeting just weird as fuck shit, just like baiting the regulators and the authorities to come after him, basically acting like nothing happened. Suzu is now doing this, and he's being even weirder about it, and it seems SBF is having a breakdown as well. So these people, their mind just breaks, because they go from being regarded as gods of the industry, right? Being regarded as people who can do no wrong, who are sitting on top of the world, to basically nothing in a matter of less than a week, basically, right? They lose all their loyal followers. They lose everything that they ever wanted because they got everything they wanted for a short period of time. And then they can't handle that. They can't cope with that. So their mind breaks and they go straight to just being weird as hell. And it really is a mental break, I believe. So, I mean, I kind of sometimes people say to me, "Oh, I kind of feel sorry for them." I don't feel sorry for them at all because they got themselves into that spot. And they're some of them are legitimately scammers and committed crimes, committed fraud. Probably most of them. But I guess if they actually have had a mental break, I hope they don't play that as like an insanity plea if they get arrested or anything like that. But it's funny because you can actually see over time signs here and there of things not going too well. In SBF's case, you could see that he was putting on weight. On the podcast or on the debate he did with Eric Voorhees on Bankless, he was shaking pretty uncontrollably. And I know, I don't want to offend anyone here, but people called SBF quote unquote autistic because he was so good at what he did. And people say, that shake is just part of his autism, so to speak. I saw that. This isn't me saying this. I just saw this said on Twitter. I was like, okay, that's weird, but whatever. But he was shaking like much more than he usually did, and his tics were like much more pronounced than they usually were on that Bankless debate. And that is a sign to me of high stress, right? High anxiety. And then, as I said, he put on weight. That is another sign of high stress and high anxiety. He was tweeting things that didn't really make sense towards the end and reassuring people when they didn't match with reality. So there are definitely signs as time goes on of someone suffering from anxiety and stress. And you begin to wonder, okay, like, why are they suffering from this, right? Especially someone like SBF, who seemed like he had it all figured out. He had all the money. He was buying up other distressed companies. Well, obviously, we know that it was all a farce. It was all, don't look behind the curtain sort of thing. So there is that there. But you can read this full message. I'll link Cobie's tweet in the YouTube description. But shifting gears a little bit to a couple of tweets I put out today. So the first one, I said, quote, "No one cares about decentralization. We all heard this a lot in 2021. Now in 2022, not so much. I think it's obvious why we don't hear about it so much in 2022. But I remember doing refuels in 2021 and talking about the importance of decentralization, especially during the alt L1 mania. I was called an ETH maxi for it. I was shit on all over Twitter. People were saying, no one wants to use your high gas fee chain. A lot of Terra Army was saying that to me. I was like, okay, whatever. I blow a lot of this stuff off. I mean, I have to. It's just Twitter's a minefield, especially during bull markets. But there was a lot of that stuff happening, right? A lot of that stuff going on. And then fast forward a year later, no one's saying this anymore, right? No one's saying no one cares about decentralization because truly decentralized products don't suffer from this. DeFi on Ethereum is ticking along just fine. And I'm not talking about the Ponzi's and the DeFi 2.0 stuff and the scams. I'm talking about actual DeFi. Uniswap, Maker, Compound, Aave, Curve, like a bunch of others, protocols out there. They're functioning just fine. They're doing what they're supposed to be doing. They're servicing users. They're on multiple chains, not just Ethereum Layer 1 now. They're on multiple L2s, right? At least most of them are. So we do care about decentralization because it saves you from all the shit that everyone else that's using CeFi is going through right now, right? And I'm not saying don't use CeFi. As I said, like it's the only way to do on and off ramp with fiat. But DeFi for most people is more than liquid enough for them to use for their day-to-day trading, investing activities. And it has a lot more benefits because of that decentralization nature, but also the self-custody nature as well, and the fact that you control everything on your own. And I don't think it's as daunting as people say it is, honestly. And I know people say, oh, well, normies can never do this. And I'm like, okay, but it's not just normies that were affected by something like the FTX fallout. It was people who were in crypto. Like, why are they storing funds on FTX? Why are they trusting their net worth on FTX and a lot of their money on FTX? I don't understand that. Obviously, I feel really bad that they lost their money, but I mean, how many times people said, not your keys, not your crypto, and people just didn't take that seriously enough, I think. I mean, me personally, I never ever keep coins or any money in exchanges longer than 24 hours unless I absolutely need to, right? And usually it's only on there to do things that I can't do within DeFi. Otherwise, everything is self-custodied. Everything is done through DeFi. I even run all my own ETH validators. Right? I am very paranoid about this, and I think I have good reason to be, considering how many CeFi things we've seen blow up over the years. And I also hate the false equivalence that some people make, or a lot of people make, especially outside the ecosystem, between DeFi and CeFi. They basically say, "Oh, look, all these things aren't working. This DeFi thing's all a farce." It's like, guys, like FTX isn't DeFi, right? Terra wasn't DeFi. I mean, they marketed themselves as DeFi, but they were not. They weren't decentralized, right? Their mechanism was a complete Ponzi. It was completely flawed. Everyone was calling it out. Celsius, not DeFi, right? BlockFi, oh, Jesus Christ. Going through the list of things that have blown up this year is going to make me depressed. I'm going to stop there. Holy fuck. I forgot about Celsius and BlockFi. And BlockFi was actually, I guess, like acquired by FTX or something. Voyager, oh my God. I got to stop. I'm making myself really depressed right now because that's just holy, and that's only happened this year. Anyway, I'm going to move on from that. But my point is that, like, I think if you've been around the last 10 months and you've soaked this all in, I think you understand the critical importance of decentralization. You understand what we're building here with Ethereum and DeFi, and you're understanding why people keep advocating for this stuff and why they're not just doing it because they're ETH maxis or whatever else maxis you want to call them. They're doing it because it's true. It makes sense. It's a reality of the situation. So I just wanted to reiterate that. I know I'm preaching to the choir a bit here on the refuel because a lot of you definitely, or I think pretty much all of you definitely care about decentralization and Ethereum values, but maybe your friends don't. Maybe people don't. And it's always good to kind of reflect on that, talk to them about it, point to the last 10 months, and then basically say to them, hey, True DeFi is unaffected by this. So look into True DeFi, look into self-custody. Make sure that you know what you're doing, of course, so you keep yourself safe. But it's better than just defaulting to CeFi, in my opinion. But yeah, that's that one. The other tweet that I put out, which I think is also very relevant. I said, just because Bitcoin survived 2014 and 2015 and Ethereum survived 2018 and 2019 doesn't mean that your favorite project will survive this bear market. Don't make the mistake of comparing your favorite projects to the exceptions when the rule is that 99% of crypto projects fail. I'm seeing a lot of people do this right now, and it's kind of scary. There is no guarantee that your favorite project will survive at all. Just like there was no guarantee that Bitcoin or Ethereum would survive during their brutal bear markets back in those dates that I mentioned. If you think that your favorite project is going to be like Ethereum, basically what you're saying is that you think that it's not a 1% chance, you think it's a 100% chance, when in reality, it's actually a 1% chance. The chance of your favorite project surviving is very, very low. Now, obviously, not all projects are the same. There is app layer, there is middleware, there is layer ones. I think with this tweet, I'm probably talking about layer ones more because I see the layer ones compared to obviously Ethereum and Bitcoin. And I'm seeing a lot of people say, Ethereum went through this. It went through a massive drawdown in price. It went through its disillusionment period. We're going to bounce back stronger. It's like, yeah, Ethereum went through that, but so did all the other old layer ones from 2017. And pretty much none of them are relevant today, right? So what makes people so confident that their favorite L1 is going to be relevant in the next cycle? Like maybe one of them is out of the crop that we saw over the last 18 months, right? Maybe one of them. And that's like a big maybe. But the rest of them, I'm pretty confident they're all going to just like go by the wayside. They're all going to die. They're going to be completely irrelevant. And not just because I believe layer 2s will overtake them, but because they're just not going to be able to foster a lasting community. Especially one that is not making any money from the tokens. There are a lot of layer ones that didn't even get anywhere near their old all-time high at the peak of the 2021 bull market, and these layer ones were from 2017, and they were just being speculated on. They're dead projects. So I think that it's very, very dangerous to think that your favorite L1 is going to emulate Bitcoin and Ethereum from its darkest days. I don't think that's a good way to think about this. I think if you want to think about things, you should look at the ecosystem that you're part of. Look at who's left. How many missionaries are left? What do they care about? What are their values? What are they doing to drive value to the network? What are the builders doing? What's the competitive landscape look like? Is Ethereum and its L2 ecosystem going to eat this chain? Right? I think that's a very real thing to look at. Can this chain survive for 2-3 years with like no price appreciation at all? Right? Does it have a community that cares about making the the chain better on the technology side, but also making sure that the social layer gets stronger and stronger over time. All these things you have to ask yourself, do your due diligence, and then kind of look at it and see what the outcome is, because I don't believe 99% of projects, not just L1s, but projects have that, and they're all going to go by the wayside. You're not going to hear about them ever again. There'll be a new crop next bull market, and we'll do this all again. But yeah, I think just taking that on board, I think is very important, and that's why I wanted to point that out for you guys. But I'm coming up on time here. Wanted to get through the last couple of tweets. So this is actually like Ethereum related updates here. Something that I missed a couple of days ago. There was an EIP-4844 implementers call that happened, and there's implementers call notes here that basically go through what happened on the call. It seems that we're headed towards DevNet 3. A lot of work is being done, or has been done. So I don't know when DevNet 3 will be spun up, maybe over the next week or so. But as I said, we're still waiting for that end of November date to see if we're going to be able to get 4844 into the Shanghai update. But progress is being made, and it's being made really, really quickly. But you can go check out the implementers call notes for yourself. I actually don't have the link to this, actually. It wasn't linked by this tweeter. And Angsgar here actually had how do I say this? A tweet, sorry, where he said, "I have to say I've had more productive days, but I think the sentiment is very much on point. When markets are euphoric, Ethereum gets criticized for our slow pace, but Ethereum progress is steady, and we keep advancing the roadmap no matter the noise in the broader crypto space." Totally. I mean, this makes total sense to me, and this is exactly what's happening within the Ethereum ecosystem. And lastly here, Awoki from Gitcoin, she had a tweet where he said, "No one, absolutely no one, and me. Web3 is an evolutionary ecosystem. In abundant times, hundreds of experiments will blossom. In scarce times, 97% will fail, but 3% that survive will be the keystone species of the next boom. Innovate, iterate, evolve, repeat. It's elegant, even beautiful." And then he's got a nice image here that I think I've showed on the refuel before, showing the evolution of our ecosystem and all the little things that are sprouting off of it. So I'll link this in the YouTube description for you to check out. I definitely think it's important to check this out and go through what he's done here, because it definitely speaks to the longer term view of our ecosystem. But on that note, that's going to be it for today. Just a reminder that there will be no refuel tomorrow. I think I should shout that out. Sorry, I will come back and be back on Monday with a much longer refuel. I'm sure there's going to be some stuff that happens. There's probably going to be another hour-long refuel on Monday. But yeah, just a note, there will be no refuel tomorrow being Friday. So yeah, I'll see you all next week. But yeah, thanks everyone for listening and watching. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the newsletter, join the Discord channel, and as I said, I'll see you all next week. Thanks everyone.